Hello, my name is Eric Michael Lloyd. I have a master's in psychology, neuropsychology concentration. Today, I'm going to read something from simplypsychology.org. It's under the self-care and understanding therapy, catharsis in psychology, and meaning of cathartic release. This was written by Charlotte Nickerson, updated January 24th, 2024. It was reviewed by Saul McLeod, PhD. On the page, it has cathartic release, therapeutic uses, in everyday language, examples, and critical evaluation. Catharsis is the expression of formerly repressed feelings in order to overcome problems associated with them. The term is commonly used in connection with psychoanalysis, where it is believed that underlying problems cannot be resolved unless the emotions connected with them are also discharged. Key takeaways. The word catharsis describes the relief of built-up tension or strong emotions. In psychology, catharsis is thought to be beneficial in terms of reducing stress and anxiety. The followers of the psychoanalytic school, such as Joseph Breuer, believed that catharsis could be achieved through the process of psychoanalysis. This involved the patient talking through and deconstructing past experiences. Catharsis is at the core of many therapeutic methods, such as psychodynamic and cognitive behavioral therapy. There are a vast number of catalysts for catharsis in everyday life, including loss, art, writing, and exercise. Some have questioned whether some types of catharsis, such as venting and ruminating, can improve mental health, even arguing that they may have detrimental effects. Cathartic release. Catharsis is an emotional release. The term in ancient Greek translates literally to purgation or purification. In psychoanalytic theory, the word catharsis has been used to refer specifically to the discharge of previously repressed effects or emotions connected to traumatic events that occur when these events are brought back into someone's consciousness and re-experienced. A related concept is abreaction, Powell, 1995. Later, therapists and psychologists saw catharsis as an outburst of emotion leading to a sense of profound enlightenment. In modern psychology, however, the term has taken on a lighter meaning, defined as any form of expressing and releasing feelings and emotions. In this articulation of emotion, that psychologists posit to lead to healing and positive mental health. For example, an artist throwing paint at a canvas or a boxer punching a punching bag in an act of rage may not be considered acts of catharsis. That's Powell, 1995. I should add that there was recent research that was published that stated that shadow boxing is actually healthy and beneficial for many people. So what people think doesn't work or is not healthy, at one point with new data and new evidence, it becomes, it can change, and that's the nature of science itself. It adapts and evolves to new evidence. The introduction of catharsis in the psychological sense dates to Joseph Breuer, 2009, a colleague of Sigmund Freud. Breuer practiced a form of therapy that involved hypnotizing his patients to help release repressed traumatic feelings. He thought that by allowing patients to consciously express these feelings, they would be cured of hysteria. The concept of catharsis later would become foundational to Freud's psychoanalytic theory. Freud believed that healing can only occur when meaningful, unconscious thoughts and feelings are brought into consciousness. That's Gana, 1987. Therapeutic uses. The aim of psychotherapy is to attempt to unmask and express feelings in order to make progress with particular issues. For example, someone attending a psychotherapy session may have a moment of realization when they realize how their family relationships have contributed to their adult relationship problems and that's Nichols and Max, 1997. Particular branches of therapy use catharsis in different ways. Psychodynamic therapy uses catharsis to bring repressed emotions and memories into a person's consciousness. For example, a patient in psychodynamic therapy may use art to express painful emotions that they feel unable to put into words. The therapist may encourage the patient to express their emotions in this way because it can provide a non-threatening way for the patient to confront difficult feelings. In psychoanalysis, the therapist investigates the client's unconscious through free association, word association, and projective tests. They identify the unconscious conflicts and help the client to bring them to the surface, catharsis. They then help the client work through and deal with them. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, may use catharsis to help a person identify any negative thought patterns that are causing them distress so that they can learn how to reframe these thoughts in a healthier way. Nichols and Max, 1977. In cognitive behavioral therapy, the therapist may encourage their patient to openly express any pent-up anger they feel towards someone who has hurt them in the past. The therapist would then help the patient to see how holding on to this anger is harmful and counterproductive, preventing them from moving on with their life. In contrast, the act of expressing and releasing this anger can lead to a sense of relief and peace. In everyday language, the definition of catharsis in psychology is different from how the word is used in everyday language. In general, people use the term catharsis to describe any form of emotional release, such as crying or yelling. However, psychologists define catharsis specifically as a discharge of previously repressed emotions connected to traumatic events. That's Powell, 1995. It is important to distinguish between the two definitions because not all forms of emotional release are considered cathartic in a psychological sense. For example, someone who cries after watching a sad movie may feel better afterward, but they have not discharged any previous repressed emotions. On the other hand, someone who cries while recalling a traumatic event may be experiencing catharsis because they are releasing emotions that have been repressed. Powell, 1995. Examples: exercise. Mood is often influenced by physical elements. Exercise has been shown can often improve mood and lessen anxiety. Additionally, however, it can cause people to experience feelings that otherwise may not be expressed. People often speak of using exercise as a way of working through their emotions. For example, someone may have an argument with their spouse and family member and be left upset. After expressing their emotions through vigorous exercise, these people often feel markedly better and able to take a wider perspective on the issue. Nichols and Efran, 1985. Art. Catharsis is an act that is both expressed by and integral to creative works. A painter, for example, may use their work as an act of emotional processing and articulation. Art can also be cathartic for those who view it. This is because the media can bring about feelings that help people make progress with their personal issues. For example, someone may see a movie that gives rise to feelings about an estranged child, and this may cause them to rethink their behavior toward their son or daughter. Nichols and Efran, 1985. Loss. One common powerful catalyst of catharsis is loss. Loss can result from anything from the dissolution of a marriage to the death of a loved one. These strong emotions following a loss can cause someone to plunge into despair, fill them with gratitude, or cause them to reevaluate their life. For example, one common practice after death of someone is a funeral and the act of spreading ashes. These ceremonies, by allowing those close to the deceased to openly express grief and sadness, may allow those participating to release their pent-up emotions and accept the loss. Similarly, the act of writing and giving a eulogy may serve a similar purpose, provoking those giving and listening to it to become grateful for the former presence of someone in their life. That's Nichols and Efran, 1985. Writing. Yet another way of expressing emotions cathartically is through writing, such as in a journal. By using a journal, people can create a visual aid that helps them look at their emotions and break them down into smaller parts, thus improving their processing ability to cope with a situation. Nichols and Efran, 1985. Critical evaluation. Freud considered the expression of unconscious emotion to be the key to improving mental health. This is one element of Freud's ethos that remains popular today. Indeed, one of the biggest goals of psychotherapy is to help people communicate what and how they are feeling. Nevertheless, catharsis, though often helpful, is not always the best solution. Stuffing and ignoring feelings are generally not beneficial. Unexpressed emotions build up inside of people and manifest in various problems, such as depression and anxiety. Psychologists generally agree. When people are able to express their emotions in appropriate ways, their well-being, in the view of most psychologists, improves. Schiele, 2001. Indeed, almost every therapeutic intervention in modern psychology toots the importance of honesty and facing one's emotions. Techniques that are common, such as cognitive behavioral therapy and psychodynamic therapy, argue that healing does not occur when feelings are avoided or minimized. Freud and Breuer's treatment of emotions both involved catharsis. While certain trauma treatments may not focus explicitly on uncovering unconscious feelings, treatments for these conditions still often try to elicit thoughts and feelings associated with trauma so that they can be dealt with accordingly. Furthermore, the treatment of anxiety often relies on the confrontation of anxious emotions. Cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, treats anxiety by asking people to challenge their worries and encourage them to perform behavior that will evoke their anxious feelings. That's Schiele, 2001. Nonetheless, there are many expressions of catharsis that may actually make one's mental health worse. Venting, for example, is similar to the modern meaning of catharsis. Unfortunately, venting, be it through vocalizing feelings or expressing oneself through aggression, has not been shown to be associated with positive outcomes. Schiele, 2001. Rumination is another concept similar to catharsis that can be detrimental to one's mental health. Rumination occurs when someone continuously thinks about or expresses their positive emotions. Often, rumination is used as one way of coping with anxious thoughts in a similar way to emotional processing. However, rumination does not work in alleviating anxiety. That's Sanson and Sanson, 2012. In addition, some believe the concept of catharsis may give people permission to behave inappropriately, be it acting aggressively to express anger or in a psychologically hurtful way to express resentment or sadness. This can be passed off, these critics have argued, as catharsis. However, those who advocate for catharsis argue that expressing anger does not have to result in behavior that is offensive or harmful to others. For example, someone can punch a pillow or burn a letter instead of threatening a person or destroying property. Nonetheless, scholars argue that anger and aggression do not dissipate just because it is expressed cathartically. Bushman, Baumeister, and Stack, 1999. As the references there, once again, my name is Eric Michael Lloyd. I have a master's in psychology and neuropsychology concentration, reading from simplypsychology.org, Self-Care, Understanding Therapy, Catharsis in Psychology and the Meaning of Cathartic Release by Charlotte Nickerson. It was updated January 24th, 2024, reviewed by Saul McLeod, PhD. Thank you for your time.